The number 20 Texas Tech Red Raiders look to stay atop of the Big 12 standings alone with a road win at number 11 Oklahoma. In today's video, we'll preview the game, look at the players to watch, odds, prediction, and much more. Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's RC Maxfield here for the Back to 12 podcast. And listen, if you want to stay in the know on all things Texas Tech men's basketball, Texas Tech football, and the Big 12 in general all year long, 100% free, smash that subscribe button and smash the notification bell to stay in the know instantly. You'll get a notification right to your screen whenever we drop a video here on the channel, whether that's for Texas Tech men's basketball, football, or the Big 12. Stay in the know right here on the most engaging Texas Tech community and one of the most viewed Big 12 communities here on YouTube in the Back to 12 podcast channel. All right, if you're a frequent watcher of the channel, you know the first question I have to ask you when it comes to a game preview. Let me know your score prediction down on the pinned comment below before we get anything started, because we've got number 20 Texas Tech at number 11 Oklahoma. This is one of those matchups where if you look at some of the metrics, maybe these teams are ranked too high, but if you watched what Texas Tech has done this year in the Big 12, outside of that Houston game, they've looked like one of the better teams in the conference. Now, number 11, Oklahoma, they're coming off of a 15-point loss to, well, their biggest rivals in the Texas Longhorns at home. How do they respond, and how do you think this game goes down? Let me know on the pinned comment below with your score prediction. All right, let's set the scene as we will head out to Norman, Oklahoma, the Lloyd Noble Center for a tip-off at 1 p.m. between number 20 Texas Tech and number 11 Oklahoma. You can watch this game on ESPN+. The announcers for the game will be Mark Neely and then former Baylor Bear King McClure. Don't miss watching him play. Those were some really good Baylor teams that he was on. There's no doubt about that. Now, the history between Texas Tech and Oklahoma on the hardwood is interesting because this is the 75th all-time matchup between the two men's basketball programs. Currently, Oklahoma holds the all-time advantage by a record of 42-32, but Texas Tech has actually won 7 of the last 10 and actually won last year in Norman in one of the worst years that Texas Tech has had in the last decade for men's basketball. Now, some other things to know about this matchup before we get into players to watch for both squads. The Red Raiders actually lead the Big 12 in three-point percentage during conference play. They're shooting 40% as a team. Nice little round number on both sides. They've made 40 shots on 100 attempts. You love some quick, easy math, especially for a guy like myself. Now, when it comes to the KenPom rankings in this one, Oklahoma is the 27th best team in the country. Texas Tech, not too far behind them, according to KenPom, at 30th. Now, net rankings is interesting. Texas Tech comes in just ahead of Oklahoma. The Red Raiders are 34th, according to net rankings, while the Sooners, they are 35th. So right around each other. This is a pretty even matchup. And when we get to the odds here in just a little bit, you're going to see that because typically the home team gets about 2.5, 3 points. If you look at the odds, hint, hint, it's going to be in that neighborhood right there. All right, players to watch for Texas Tech in this one. It has to start with Pop Isaacs. Now, Joe Toussaint has to get better for Texas Tech from a physicality standpoint and just get back to his game. But Pop Isaacs has been absolutely sensational for the Red Raiders, specifically in Big 12 play. He actually leads all Big 12 players in scoring during conference play with just under 20 points per game at 19.8 points per game for the Red Raiders. He's shooting 44% from 3 during conference play, and he will need to have another, just a huge game for Texas Tech. Now, maybe not a career high 32, but he's going to have to get near that average if Texas Tech is going to want to pull off the upset, at least if you look at the AP poll in Norman. And as we all know, it's damn near impossible to win a road game in the Big 12. This would be a big one for the Red Raiders. Another guy to know is Warren Washington. Texas Tech men's basketball tweeted out yesterday that Warren Washington is averaging 13.4 points per game, 6.4 rebounds per game in Big 12 play, and also is leading the conference during Big 12 play in field goal percentage with 67.5%, and also blocks per game just under 2 with 1.8. He is on a historic pace when it comes to minutes per game for a big in the Big 12 conference. And Texas Tech needs every second of him on the floor. If he stays out of foul trouble, he will make a huge impact in this game and really increase the chances for Texas Tech to win. But the point that I'm watching for in terms of his game against Oklahoma is passing. Do not be surprised if Texas Tech tries to space the big out, get Warren Washington at the top of the key, and let guys move baseline and cut towards the basket. And we know how good of a passer Warren Washington is. Speaking of somebody being really good at something on the floor, Kerwin Walton, catch and shoot machine. He has absolutely been sensational for the Red Raiders, really since the Devin Cambridge injury. But I mentioned earlier that Texas Tech is leading the Big 12 in three-point percentage during conference play. Again, 40 for 100, quick math, 40%. Kerwin Walton is a big reason why. He's going to have to be ready off the pick and roll opportunities for Texas Tech, be ready in the corner, outside of the arc, catch and shoot, against an Oklahoma defense that ranks top 25 in the country. He's a guy that I'm watching for and expect big things. Maybe not 18 points like he had down in H-Town, but if he gets into double figures, I think the chances for Texas Tech to pull off the upset, again, via the AP Top 25 poll, exponentially increase. All right, we move on to Oklahoma. You've got Javon McCollum. He leads the way, the transfer from Siena. And he actually leads the Sooners in scoring with just under 15 points per game at 14.6. He's a little shorter of a guard, 6'2", but, man, he's got a sniper, shooting 36.4% from three. And he is just creative in the ways that he creates space. When you watch him play basketball, it's just a joy to watch, in all honesty. He's a guy that just enjoys the game and really can do things that not a lot of other guards in the Big 12 can do from a spacing perspective and creating it himself. I'd be interested to see who Texas Tech throws at him for a majority of the game, but a matchup inside the matchup that I'm actually looking forward to is seeing McCollum being guarded by Chance McMillan of Texas Tech. Two athletic guards going at it. Should be a fun one to watch. Now, in the front court for the Sooners, the name to know is Jalen Moore. He leads the Sooners in rebounding with 5.8 per game. He's 6'7", kind of in that Keyshawn Johnson role. If you remember that guy from San Diego State last year in their Final Four run, maybe Texas Tech fans remember him. He actually took an official visit to Texas Tech, or was planning to, before he went to Arizona and ended up being a Wildcat. I think Darion Williams is going to have this assignment, and it will be one to watch, as Moore is one of those more athletic guys. This is a guy that Devin Cambridge would be perfect to have if he was healthy for the Red Raiders to match up against. He's not, so Darion will more than likely get the assignment on Moore, no pun intended. Another one to know for the Sooners is Milos Uzan. He leads the team in assists, a bigger guard at 6'4", but he really makes the ship go. He's kind of the Joe Toussaint for them in the sense that he leads the team in assists, 4.4 per game. Not that big of a scourge, averaging just around 9 points per game, but he's a guy that gets everybody in the proper position to succeed and really makes things easy for Porter Moser's squad right there, specifically on the offensive end, and he's got some good switchability too. As I mentioned, he is 6'4". Now, the must-watch matchup in this one for me is Texas Tech three-point shooting versus the Oklahoma defense. I mentioned it already. Oklahoma has a top 25 defense, according to Ken Pom, in the country. And Texas Tech, you look at what they've done in conference play. I've mentioned it 3 times already. 40% from three. What's going to give here? Right? There is a substantial difference in terms of the points per game that Texas Tech scores and the points per game allowed by Oklahoma. What's going to give here? I think Texas Tech has a chance to pull off this upset if they shoot well, and every game in the Big 12 they have outside of the Houston game, and good luck shooting well against Houston, even though BYU had a couple of opportunities to beat Houston in Provo with some wide open looks. Cougars couldn't capitalize against the Cougars. Cougar on Cougar crime there. Anyway, that's the matchup I'm watching for in this one. Now, when it comes down to the odds, you go to Bart Torwick, and you've got T-Rank, for those that don't know. He has, according to his projection, Oklahoma as a 3.5-point favorite in this one. The Vegas odds at the time of this recording not out yet, but typically T-Rank is pretty close when it comes to the odds that Vegas does inevitably put out. His projections give Oklahoma a 63% chance to win the game. I don't give a damn. I think Texas Tech wins this one by a score of 76-72, and the Red Raiders stay atop alone in the Big 12 standings. The reason being is this. Texas Tech, listen, they went down and they got absolutely drubbed by Houston. Let's just call it what it is, okay? They absolutely did. But on the road against teams that are similar to them in terms of the rankings and everything, they've been pretty good, right? You think about that Texas win. They destroyed Texas. I mean, really, when it came down to the second half, they pulled away there, went up 11 and ended up winning by 11. But I think this Texas Tech team is playing arguably its best basketball right now. The thing is this that I'm watching and I'm predicting that Texas Tech will actually have a good first half, which is crazy to think if you've watched any Texas Tech men's basketball this year. I think they actually have a good first half on the road. They continue it into the second half where Grant McCasland and crew have shown to make adjustments. It's going to be fun watching Grant McCasland go up against one of the better coaches in all of college basketball in Porter Moser. Those adjustments for each squad. But in the end, I think Texas Tech leaves Norman with their second consecutive win north of the Texas border there in Oklahoma. And they win by a score of 76-72, moving to 5-1 in the Big 12 and staying atop of the Big 12 standings by themselves by a game. Now, one more time before we head out of here, who you got? Let me know your score prediction on the pinned comment down below for number 20 Texas Tech. At number 11 Oklahoma, you've heard mine. I've got Texas Tech winning 76-72. Let me know yours down on the pinned comment below. And before you head out of here, if you want to stay in the know on all things Texas Tech men's basketball, Texas Tech football, and the Big 12 throughout the whole year, 100% free, join the most engaging Texas Tech community and one of the most watched Big 12 communities here on YouTube by smashing that subscribe button and smashing that notification bell to stay in the know right here on the Back to 12 podcast channel.